Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
Real Clear Politics average of all the polls now shows Bernie Sanders leading Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire by more than 12 points. So Mrs. Clinton deployed her most powerful weapon to the Granite State, her husband, Bill, who insists that his wife is the real change maker.
She does stuff. She knows when to stand her ground and when to find common ground. You're never going to have a chance to vote for somebody who is better prepared for the demands of this time. How are you going to restore the economy in a way that shares prosperity? How are you going to solve these social problems and bring us closer together? How are you going to get rid of political gridlock? And how are you going to protect the country? There is one person running in this race that is by far the best suited to do that job for you, and you can bring it home for her in New Hampshire.
So let's get some more insight into the Democrats' race. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry is on the campaign trail in Peterborough, New Hampshire. Ed.
John, good to see you. You hear the former president there really highlighting experience. Hillary Clinton would be ready on day one. Her recent ads on TV have been doing the same thing with the message. But remember, she tried that in 2008. The 3 a.m. phone calls against then Senator Barack Obama did not work. This time, again, highlighting experience, while Bernie Sanders, as you noted, is highlighting this sort of outsider mood, the angry mood that Donald Trump, as you noted, is tapping into on the Republican side. Hillary Clinton, meanwhile, has been on the attack, although they are trying to be a little more careful in the Clinton camp. Remember here in New Hampshire last week when their daughter Chelsea Clinton came out and charged that Bernie Sanders was going to dismantle Obamacare. There was a boomerang. It appeared to backfire a little bit. So Hillary Clinton last night was saying that Bernie Sanders' health care plan is the wrong way to go. But as you can tell, she tried a little bit of a softer edge. Listen.
In all those 20 years, he never got a sponsor in the Senate or got a vote in the House. And then right before the last debate, he changed his plan and put out an 8-page summary of his new plan, which is a single-payer plan, which would require total new legislation starting from scratch. I do not think we should start from scratch.
Well, when I talk to people inside the Sanders camp, they seem baffled by that attack because they say that in a Democratic primary, there are a lot of liberals who like the idea of a single-payer health care plan.
Chief Justice Roberts, Vice President Harris, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Schumer, Leader McConnell, Vice President
You know,
Pence,
most Americans
distinguished guests, my fellow
believe our
Americans.
political system
This is America's
needs
day.
changes. Upwards of about 85% of respondents in polls, about change, say they want change. 42% say that our political system needs to be completely overhauled, reformed. This sentiment holds true across party lines: Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian. Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents, and 83% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents in support of change. This was from a Gallup poll, November 21st, 2021. 43% of the country wants a complete overhaul, like I said, of political change. Citizens United, political parties, usurping the reins of government from the people. They also want, across party lines, to cut the division in our country, the deadlock that's caused by the Democrats and Republicans. Most people don't realize that it is the Democrats and Republicans that are causing the gridlock. They instead think it's insurrectionists or whatever the narrative of the mainstream media is, that they manufacture consent to make excuses and logical fallacies for the real problems in this whole entire endeavor, guys. They're the rust on the wheel. They're the greed and the gluttony and the 7 deadly sins in Nineveh and Sodom. So like I said, guys, 87% respectively across party lines support the smallest of any change in the political system. Not to mention change in how we do tax laws, change in our justice system. Only 37% positively responded to a support of the political system as it exists now. That's an unequal level, guys. That's an income inequality. It's an inequality, it's not an income inequality. But it gives way to income inequality, guys. Meanwhile, 88% of Americans who do not approve of our pandemic responses, they support reform. A gap of only 5 percentage points, guys, to the people who, across party lines, sweepingly want political reform. If you read the charts and graphs, and if you see the popularity in the policies that these surveys are conveying to you, these views, these policies, they say political reform. They say they are generally not satisfied with what our political parties, what our government, and what their donors are endeavoring to handle in the most transparent way, guys. Nothing fundamentally changing. Nothing fundamentally changing. That is the change the Democrats give, guys. And Americans are not confident about our politics or if it can be effectively reformed because of these parties, because of the deep corruption, which is almost as American as apple pie, guys. It all started as soon as George Washington wrote. Without him to level the playing field and to speak reasonably and logically, they all fell away to their talking points and to their mass media groups, their mainstream conventional wisdom and social norms, bandwagon mentalities, guys. It's a really interesting thing, guys, how 88% of the country wants change. Sweeping change on our politics, on our justice system, on the policies and the tax laws that we put forward. And yet, guys, there's only one voice that gives the politicians pause or a moment to consider. What do they call it? Their their mandate, their referendum. Oh yes. So if Joe Biden was a referendum of Trump, wouldn't 88% of the country wanting sweeping political reforms be heard to these political parties? But they don't care about us. They only care about their donors who extract the wealth of the working class and their corporations who are not people. Money is not speech. And principles and values do matter. Truth matters. You having a unique personality and made in the image of God, that matters. Although again, a similar percentage of Americans, guys, who are satisfied with democracy support reform as well. Despite controversies over whether the government, assumed too much power of responsibility in the COVID pandemic, or whether most Americans still need to take these measures and not curtail personal freedoms, guys. The actions of the government officials are clear. And they took, not to mitigate the pandemic and the country that they swore to protect from threats foreign and domestic, these mandates. They did it to curtail your civil liberties, to maintain the status quo, and to affect a non-fundamental change, which is what Joe Biden told his donors. If you still don't know who Joe Biden is, if you still don't know what Joe Biden said on the campaign trail, if you didn't hear, I am going to cut Social Security, you ain't black, you better vote for somebody else, fat. If you didn't hear those things, guys, our country's in deep doo-doo. And we can't even come together to talk about the change or to affect the change. We're being divided. There's a lot at stake, guys. There's other countries. There's the vocal minority, which should be respected in a democracy. There's the greater good. There's the Constitution. There's our personal freedoms and civil liberties, and there's our own beliefs. And these beliefs, guys, they're protected in amendments of the Constitution. Freedom of speech, rights to assemble. Our heritage is in danger. And the people who are currently in power, guys, no matter who you think or who you think you like or dislike, have affected zero change on all fronts, despite many campaign slogans of change. They've given you none. And that is the Tommy Nation Politics Tuesday live stream memo.